Partners for a Competitive Workforce is really a community-wide effort to figure out how can we mobilize the community's resources to close the skills gap. We are over 150 organizations that have come together in our tri-state region, from business to government, workforce investment boards, community colleges, community-based organizations, chambers of commerce, all coming together to figure out how can we really align and coordinate all of the region's efforts to closing the skills gap in key industries. Each of these three sectors that we've been in over the past 4 years, we've trained over 6,000 individuals for in-demand jobs with strong rates of over 87% completing training, 82% getting a job, 75% keeping a job for at least a year, and we're averaging of our participants increasing their annual earnings from $3,000 to $9,000 a year. So we know that we are having an impact. Collectively, that's over $6 million in new money in earnings in our region per year that we're generating. So that's a major impact. It's less of a matter of scaling up good organizations and more of a matter of figuring out how can we mobilize all the existing resources and efforts in our community towards a couple of very discrete and specific objectives. In our case, targeting key industries that have shortages and building career pathways, which is a demonstrated model to address those needs, and figuring out how can we pull together efforts of our colleges, our workforce boards, chambers, everybody towards that vision and that strategy. As a backbone organization, we kind of think of our role as being the gas and the glue. So in one regard, we're here to help accelerate the efforts, accelerate the collaboration so that we can go farther faster. Again, there's a lot of good things happening in our community. Our role is to really pump leadership, resources, and support into making those go farther and faster. But we're also the glue, so we are the backbone to hold all of these efforts together. Partners for a Competitive Workforce is a very lean organization. We've never exceeded more than 2.5 staff. We have about $1 million a year budget. Most of that is invested directly in our initiatives and our partners. This kind of work takes cross-sector funding streams to really pull off the kind of outcomes that we've been able to achieve, and we've been able to maximize limited public resources and limited philanthropic resources by really working together in a aligned fashion. We've established a common database system that is now being used by 3 workforce boards, as well as all of our partners and all of our many of our community-based organizations, in total over 50 different workforce development providers that represent basically all workforce development services in our region that are now using this common system to track individual level data around who's getting served with what kind of services and to what end, to what kind of outcomes. We've been at it for a couple years now. It's a major challenge in not only agreeing on the outcomes and the measures and how you define those measures, but then getting consistent data entry so you actually have good enough data to use. We're now at a point, again 4 years in, where we actually have a pretty robust data set, over 100,000 client records that we're now starting to analyze for the trends, so we can start to understand where are the gaps in services, what kind of services are leading to better outcomes, what are the major barriers to success. Collective impact is really premised on deep levels of trust and commitment among very, very diverse organizations and individuals. And you have to take the time. In our case, it took us probably 3 years. It honestly took a lot of hard conversations, a lot of bumps and bruises along the way to get to that point, and you really can't fast track that trust building. I think that's probably one of the most critical success factors in this collective impact work. Another challenge in this work is around sharing credit, because our work as a backbone, we don't train people for jobs. We don't directly interface all that often with individuals and employers, but we are really trying to pull together the community's efforts around some key strategies that we know that work. I think backbone leaders really require a pretty diverse skill set. I think the most important skills are listening, facilitating, developing trust and relationships with individuals and with partners, being able to communicate a compelling vision and a way to achieve that vision, having a big picture strategic mindset, but ability to execute on the ground towards that vision. But I think there's no real preparation. I think the skill set could be found from folks coming from any sector. But it's most important to have a certain humility as you approach the work, ability to understand the big picture but execute tactically on the ground, and a real strong ability to develop relationships and trust.